What is going on, everybody? My name is Diggity to the Wiggity to the what? This is not your typical game, at least not for me. This is Autopsy Simulator, and honestly, I really don't know what to expect. I'm just gonna check the settings here and just see how everything's set. I mean, it looks like everything's already at the highest possible, so we'll just go ahead with it. We'll start the story mode up. We'll crack this bad boy open. We'll click that play button on the story mode. And yes, Autopsy Simulator, as far as I understand, there is a story essentially associated with this game somehow. And it's going to be our job to figure out what happened to the bodies, and it's going to kind of tell the story.
Examiner, Beatsville. Dr. Jack Hadman is speaking. How can I help you?
Good evening, this is Kate Brooks. I'm not sure if you remember me. A few weeks ago, we talked about an article I'm working on. It's about your wife. I dropped by last Friday to speak to you, but you weren't working at the time. I asked the security guard to pass on a note for me. I would like us to discuss the topic of...
I thought I had made it painfully obvious for the last time. No! Please don't call me again and stop inquiring about my wife. Damn journalists. They don't let me work. God damn it.
Graphics aren't bad.
I'm not in the best frame of mind to record a lecture for my students now. I'm feeling completely broken. Where did I leave my meds this time?
For your pills. Well, before I check the bathroom for my pills, I'm going to play around a little bit. That's what she said. And, yeah, I want to take the time to say thank you very much for all the love, all the support, the hate, the comments, everything that you guys, gals, Apache helicopters, staplers, whatever you identify as. I want to thank you for the support.
They definitely pay me too little for this.
And,
Stephen
yeah.
didn't clean up after himself.
The graphics are surprisingly
Won't
better
need
than
it
I
for the
thought
next
they
2
would be.
months. Wednesday. It's not my favorite day. Although it's certainly better than Monday.
Yeah, I'd smeesh it. Turn off the light. Now I can't see, but that makes the game more fun, right? Can't see, but makes it... Oh, well, I can't see what's in the drawer, so light goes on. Light goes on. What's in the drawer? Oh, Curious George book or something. Another person, another missing person case. Alright. On the road again. Everybody knows we're on the road again. Ah, okay. So when you need to use an item, it's gonna like illuminate.
And get back to work.
Wow, this dude's hooked on something. Or he's got a medical condition of some kind.
I need to set the camera first.
The camera. The camera out of the storage room.
This place is starting to look like a horde. I don't see any need to mess with the electrics.
Why?
Oh,
look at that. The old camcorder. The old
Now
family
remember, Jack,
camcorder.
Don't forget.
Place it on the tripod in the dissecting room. Okay. So that's got to be in, like, the autopsy room, right?
But the word is, the lab will be open tomorrow.
A room is out of order.
Hopefully the new tripod is going to hold up.
Oh, there she is. Again, illuminated, which really does help. Welcome to the video VHS camcorder.
Now, I just have to get everything in frame.
Oh my god.
This should be fine.
For those of you that
November
don't
20th,
remember when it kind of goes
1991.
fuzzy up and down like that, that's old school. We used to call
8:43
that tracking.
Recording for medical students from the University of Missouri. This autopsy is conducted by Jack Hadman. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the autopsy room. Today, you will have the dubious pleasure of following a full autopsy, step by step. For those of you who have already performed your first autopsy, this will refresh your basic knowledge. In turn, for those whose knowledge is only theoretical, I advise not to watch this after a meal.
Toby Chambers. Guess that's his name. Oh, that blackboard.
Let's start. Always wear an apron, mask, and gloves. Goggles are a must when the job is splashy. And in case of sharp accidents, it's worth having disinfectants at hand. It's true that you won't get ptomaine poisoning straight away, but if your liver or kidney aren't doing well, you may end up with diarrhea. The cadaver is placed on its back on the autopsy table. The pathologist stands on the right of the deceased. Make sure that all the necessary tools are always at hand so that you don't have to run around looking for something, like I do all the time. In the process of revealing and securing forensic evidence, it is difficult not to interfere with the original condition of the deceased. Written and photographic documentation plays a vital role throughout the entire examination process. During your research, be patient, inquisitive, but above all, attentive to detail. Many entries are visible at first glance, but sometimes they can be cover for more interesting stories. And lastly, remember that nothing teaches you self-narration like working with the dead. So get used to that fact soon. Everyone will think you're talking to yourself. Now, on to the police folder. That will contain all sorts of pertinent information as to who the deceased might be, and what potentially happened to them.
Might be important.
So, let's take a closer look, shall we?
Where the hell is it? Can we put out an Amber Alert for the police folder? Amber Alert? Is it illuminated?
I wasn't sure it would amount.
Ooh, that's when we got married. We had fun that night.
Poor soul. I get cases like this more than any other.
Police folder, ladies and gentlemen. Police folder. Anybody? Police folder. Got it. Oh. Nope. I literally thought it was illuminated.
The deceased's name is Tobias Chambers, locally known as Old Toby. Homeless and unemployed for at least a couple of years.
Oh, I kind of like how they present like the evidence like this. It's kind of cool.
The deceased was found on the outskirts of a parking lot at a gas station, where he often begged and persistently offered drivers to wash their car windows.
Okay.
The body was noticed by a station employee during the morning shift. Initially, he thought that someone had thrown some boots and a coat in a nearby ditch. It took him a moment to recognize the pile of clothes as the body of a man.
Really realistic
He
photo.
worked most of his life at the local port dealing with unloaded cargo. He was fired for being drunk and starting fights. His son runs a hardware store on his own. His wife left him years ago. They both had no contact with the deceased. Signs of libation were found around the body. Empty bottles, traces of an inept attempt to start a fire, and a scattered makeshift blanket.
Imhotep.
That's it. It's worth remembering the context around the scene of a death. This allows you to better interpret any traces found on the body. I shouldn't start the procedure without gloves.
Well, that was easy to find.
Now it's our turn to take some pictures for our files.
Ooh,
If
I love
just
pictures.
remember where I left the
Beauty
camera.
pictures of myself.
It's in here somewhere.
Oh.
Aha! There you are. I knew it was here somewhere. As I mentioned at the beginning, before we begin the internal examination, we need to document the cadaver and the condition it arrived in. We begin with a full body photo. Voila! Now we move on to the next
Easy
step.
peasy lemon squeezy.
Looking for traces. Take your time. Look at the corpse from different sides, from different angles, up close, and from a distance. You're looking for anything out of the ordinary.
Does anybody that's watching this think they could ever do an occupation like this? I think it takes a really special individual. I know somebody that actually does this for a living. They are the top in their field, and they're very different.
Signs of frostbite, probably because the subject's shoes were too small.
I think it takes a special individual to do a job like this. And actually, I have some kind of crazy stories about that person as well, but you know, obviously I won't share those because they are a close family friend. But It does take a special individual to do something like this, for sure. No question. I'm a little lost as to what I'm missing here, though. Like, oh, okay, I got you. So we're looking for, like, scars. Any pre-existing wounds or marks, I guess, that way.
Well-healed wound. Looks old. I'll take a closer look later.
Gotcha, okay. So marks, any kind of scarring, burns. Well, I mean, the whole damn body's marked up. You might as well just, like, zoom in and take a photo from head to toe of the whole damn body. Take up, like, a terabyte of space. What am I missing? Oh.
That's something interesting. It will be necessary to check whether this injury was severe enough to cause damage to the brain.
I think there might be, like, an order.
Worn out by physical work and frostbite. In a moment, we will check which of our initial observations will be worthy of further consideration. But before we get to that, I need to write down some basic data.
Okay. Oh, like we're gonna establish. Gotcha.
It's been a while since the eye wash in this thing was changed. It's probably a health hazard now. Scalpel, scissors, syringe, magnifying glass, knife. I guess I forgot to clean the knife. Personal information. The deceased was unclothed.
This is kind of cool.
Okay, as you can see, I note everything down on previously prepared forms. Every pathologist must keep a detailed record of every step of the autopsy.
But don't
this
worry
not
about
only
cleaning
allows you to
knives.
track the procedure, but also collates the results together, upon which you may back up your conclusions. So, enough of the boring prep. Let's begin by taking a closer look at the spots I photographed earlier. For this, you're going to need a magnifying glass.
Tools. Okay.
Which
Oh, that's
spot
pretty easy.
first? I can confirm the presence of ecchymosis on the deceased man's head. The appearance indicates the intravital nature of the wound. Add alcohol, which I can clearly smell, and this was an accident just waiting to happen.
Okay. And I like how they've highlighted the areas
It looks
to
like a burn
examine.
mark, no
that we
doubt
took
painful,
photos of.
but it's not pertinent for this case. Here we can see frostbite on the fingertips. We can tell by the characteristic skin color.
This is pretty cool. Dark, but cool.
Definitely a painful mix of frostbite, abrasions, and blisters. Old Toby had been wearing shoes too small for him for a very long time. That's if he wore any at all. So far, there are a lot of superficial wounds, but only one serious injury to the head. Let's go back to our notes.
Highlight the previously found wounds on the clipboard, a mannequin, 4
First,
spots.
I mark the location
Done.
of the injuries and make notes for each one.
Okay, so we're gonna make a report of our findings.
The head wound.
Okay.
We're
Okay,
not in
I
frost
see.
season yet.
Gotcha.
But high Q if Toby's body was, even though this type of wound didn't contribute to
okay.
the deceased's death, we're still required to record it. As you can see, we don't have much to go on. Let's write down what preliminary causes of death we can think of.
And how do I do that? How do I do that?
Various types of accidents are a common cause of death among the homeless and the elderly. Perhaps old Toby slipped and accidentally hit his head. Considering the conditions in which he slept, his body may have become hypothermic. The nights have been particularly nasty lately. We will check if there are any signs of freezing internally. This is of no interest to us. Since the deceased clearly smelled of alcohol, I'll add alcohol poisoning to our list.
I guess it's possible, yeah. Judging by my
We still have one
calculations.
thing left from the basics. Rigor mortis. Well, we take our deceased by the hand, gradually re-raise it.
Okay. Oh, I see. I gotta follow it in the lines. Huh.
Now let it go. As you can see, the hand falls loose. What's the conclusion? Death must have occurred more than 72 hours ago. The police information appears correct.
Interesting.
Head trauma seems the most promising, so we'll start there. For this, I need an oscillating saw.
Ooh, here we go. Get into the good stuff.
The cut is made from ear to ear.
Oh, so you want to keep it white. Gotcha. Well, this is fun. It's like wood chop all over again.
After which, we remove the skin and the top of the skull.
It just pops right out like that. Okay.
We can see that the brain's cerebral gyri in both hemispheres are symmetric.
So squishy and
The brain looks
gelatinous.
good. Let's take a cross-section.
Okay, let's do it.
Some pathologists prefer to examine organs without removing them. However, for me, it's much more convenient to examine them on a board, which we'll do now. Holding a long, narrow blade knife in the dominant hand, we slowly cut the cranial nerves on both sides, all the time pulling the brain towards us.
How am I? Oh. Oh, I see. I gotta make my way to the top, but I gotta keep pulling it back and going forward. I'm pulling it back. I'm going. And now I gotta go down into the same thing. What goes up must come down.
So far, so good.
Okay.
The hematoma seems to have had no effect on the brain. I can't.
What the hell?
I cannot. I need pills.
Oh my god, this guy's an addict, man. Return to the autopsy. Dude, I need pills. Dude's tweaking. You're telling me to do the autopsy? Dude's tweaking. Alright, we good. We good. We good. We all fueled up, ready to go.
We can rule the fatal accident out as well.
How do I do this? How do I do it?
Brain is in good condition, so we have no choice but to proceed to the internal examination of the other organs. I grab a scalpel from my kit. The incision should be in the shape of a letter Y. We use a deep cut to reach all the way to the ribs and to penetrate the abdominal. All right.
Sorry about that.
Now we peel back and separate the skin.
It's not pulling back. I hear it. Whoa. Oh, is there like a sequence to it? Shouldn't be, right? I mean, it should just be flaps of meat. Okay, that one pulled up. That one's not pulling up. Am I missing something here, ladies and gentlemen?
Now, we need to remove the ribs. We'll need the loppers for this.
Saw.
Quite a satisfying crunch. For some, anyway.
Satisfying.
After removing
crunch.
the cartilage tissue, we instantly notice two things. Firstly, there is no congestion of the internal organs. This means that although the deceased was hypothermic, it didn't kill him. Secondly, the deceased smoked like a chimney. So, we should take a closer look at those lungs. We can see widespread black and tarry deposits caused by... Despite the tragic condition of the lungs, they are not the cause of death. Alice smoked too. It didn't kill her, but... What was I talking about? Lungs. Yes. Advanced inflammation. What now? The syringe. Now's a good time to collect some samples. Specifically 3. From the eye, the heart, and the bladder. I'm interested to see the concentration of alcohol in the vitreous humor analysis is very useful in indicating long-term alcohol abuse.
Crazy.
5 milliliters from the left ventricle should do it. Now from the bladder, we draw about 10 milliliters of fluid. Now we take our samples to the centrifuge. But before I do that, I need to find my notebook. My dyscalculia means that I always double-check the settings. Please excuse me while I run and fetch it.
Oh yeah, he's talking to the class, that's right.
This whole thing is covered in stains. I should check this out under the microscope sometime. Let's get back to the examination. We put all of the samples into the rotor.
Okay. And okay.
Now we set the appropriate time and speed.
That's got to be in the notes, the notebook. That's why we had to go get the notebook, right? 15 minutes. So 10 and 5. Oh, never mind. I see there's a speed. Speed 60% crossed out 70%.
Okay, let's roll. A considerable collection. Oh shit. The fuses again.
It's like blacking out, man. It's so weird.
Where were we?
Dude, he
yes.
needs like a
The
pill
blood
like
alcohol
every minute.
concentration.
He might as well like start snorting them or like
Let's see what we've got here.
putting them up as a suppository, man.
Everything's separated as it should. Our lab is closed until tomorrow after the last, incident. However,
That's kinda
considering that Toby's favorite eau de parfum appears to be ethanol,
parfum.
I'm guessing the results won't surprise me at all. Let's go further. We will now focus on the cardiovascular system, specifically the heart. We remove the organ and examine it closely. We look for dark hypoxic areas, clots, or other elements that stand out as abnormal. At first glance, the heart looks fine. The pulmonary trunk and aorta seem to be in good condition. There are no pathological changes that would have contributed to Toby's death. Now let's take a closer look at the stomach. Size is normal, healthy, pink color, and as expected, the stomach has no major external damage. We must now cut it open and inspect inside. We will do it carefully so that its contents do not spill out.
Nice.
We open the stomach along the greater curvature, from the heart to the pyloric end. Oh, I already feel like there's something left inside.
Weird. This is such a pain. So I got to keep going back and forth and doing this. So when you mess up, you don't even got to restart. Oh, that's good to know. So I'm going pretty quick. Oh, it's like the carnival game where you can't touch the sides with the metal ring. Oh.
Okay.
I wish they would have kept it just as like one way. There's
Small
like
amounts of yellow, grayish food content, resembling some kind of meat. Either our deceased hadn't eaten in days, or the bulk of his stomach had already found a way out. Looks like I'll have to find the missing contents. There are two ways here. One is obvious, and the other is... It couldn't have been suffocation, could it? I'll add this to the list and move on to the deceased's neck. At first glance, the trachea looks normal. Same result as with the stomach. The external inspection doesn't tell us anything. This time we'll cut on a tray. While cutting such a small organ as the trachea, we must make a precise incision. To be able to cut with the very tip of the blade, we must hold the scalpel as we would a pen.
The same Y thing. Wow, could you imagine like actually handling this item after cutting it? Like it would be so fragile.
Examination and deduction, we've got it. A clogged trachea. It's time to summarize the whole thing. Based on the report and preliminary documentation, it's safe to assume that the deceased passed out after consumption of alcohol and then fell asleep on his back. Then, the gastric contents refluxed and flooded the airways, causing death.
Note the main cause of death. Okay, well, let's... So we don't... I guess we just... Okay, so it wasn't that,
That's why we don't forget about the recovery position at dorm parties.
Okay, gotcha. It's kind of a neat game. It's interesting how they've got a different mini game for, like, if you want to call it that, for all like the body parts. But I wish they would have kept it the same, at least in some shape, way, or form.
And now it's all clear. The death, well, the mystery is solved. But for us, this is not the end. First, the dead body needs to be cleaned up.
Well, I mean, that's how I signed my name, so... if you want my autograph, send it to my P.O. box, and I will...
For this, we will need to close
I'll
the
give you
body
my John
and
Hancock.
grab the needle. First, we unroll the skin flaps. And then, we sew the deceased back up. I'm using the baseball stitch technique. This stitching
look how
method
quick
is
we
very
are.
strong and quick to do.
Nice, done, boom. We'll sew a
Beautiful.
few other things up, too. Leave the body.
Now we say goodbye to the deceased and put them safely in the fridge, ready for the next stage of their journey.
So weird.
God, I'm tired. I'll
That's
drop
your
these
car
samples off at the lab on the way to the bar. I'll call Steven. I don't feel like drinking alone today.
Well, if this is the end, it looks like it is. So that's the end of, I guess, like the introduction chapter. I'm going to end it here. I want to take the time to say thank you very much for all the love, all the support, the hate, the comments. This is a very different game for me, and I'm sure
Forgive
for
me.
very different game for a lot of people. So I understand if you don't watch or if you don't like it. It's very different. But that will do it for this part. And I guess we'll start chapter 1 the next time. So, DiggityWiggityWaaa signing out.